listen to the rest. Now it's time to listen to the best. Real Talk Sports, where these pro sport analysts do more than get in front of the throws. They never miss a catch or a call. No matter the sport, they always have the right call. Not just entertaining, it's the true sports fans forecasting guy. Feel free when you cash in or let it ride. With Real Talk Sports by your side, that is. Just to keep the ball bouncing even more. It's two-way talk with live question and review. So be sure to listen in on the new WIGO.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another live broadcast of the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we're broadcasting to you live right now on WIGO AM 1570. We're also broadcasting online at WIGOAM.com. We also are broadcasting anywhere on your mobile device. Use the free TuneIn radio application. Put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. And while you're there, go to Real Talk Sports and follow us, please. Speaking of follow, anywhere on social media at Talk Sports ATL. I'm, of course, here with the Young Guns. You'll see them if you're on Periscope, because we are also broadcasting on Periscope. You can find the link via Twitter at Talk Sports ATL, and you can click on and watch us live. The Young Gun, Reggie Brown, in the building.
Excited to be here.
And, of course, the other Young Gun, Mr. Ashton Reynolds.
So excited to be here as well.
Well, gentlemen, a lot of good stuff went on this weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot. Peyton retiring today. Adam Scott won second tournament in the past 2 weeks. It's just great sports.
Yeah, unbelievable. Adam Scott, of course, for those of you who are golf aficionados, he won his second straight golf tournament. First time that's happened since Rory McIlroy did it a couple years ago. I think it was 2012 or 2013 he did that. And, of course, he did it twice over a span where everybody thought that he was going to run away and be the next Tiger Woods. Of course, that's not happened as we have moved through. We found two other young guns that are challenging him, Jason Day, and, of course, a guy that we saw in person, Reggie, last year, Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, these young golfers right now are just dominating the game like Tiger was, but it's going to be exciting to see who Tiger can really pass the torch to.
Well, I tell you, it's very, very interesting because if you look at these guys, like I said again, it was actually a Tiger. I don't want to say a copy, but a guy that really did pattern everything like Tiger Woods. Adam Scott from Australia is a guy that is now coming into his own and showing people the type of swing and the type of game management that we thought that he was going to give us on a regular basis when he first came up, and everybody talked about how much he reminded them of Tiger.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. He can really break out and take control of the tournament like he did this past weekend. And not only is he playing good, but as you know, golf is going to come back to the Olympics this year in 2016. All the players are trying to get for those final four spots for each country. And Adam Scott, of course, him and Jason Day are going to be leading Australia. Then you got USA, Ricky Fowler, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, and who knows, maybe Phil can rise up in there.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see the young guys there. Don't know if Phil will make an appearance due to his age, but definitely the United States has a very formidable team. When you talk about Jordan Spieth and when you talk about Ricky Fowler and some of the other guys that are coming up, so it will be a outstanding to see the Olympics having golf back again. First time in almost 100 years.
Yeah, 123 years.
Right, so it's going to be quite the thing. And, of course, the great irony was him winning the tournament at the Doral. I've actually been to the Doral, played in the Blue Monster many years ago. I think, Reggie, was before you were born. So I went there and played in 1998. And Reggie's like, yeah, I wasn't here yet. But that's when I played magnificent to get a chance to play on the Blue Monster. But now the course is actually called the Trump Doral Golf Course. And Donald Trump, of course, was there getting a free shot to get some more publicity as he makes his run for president. I will not comment about that on this show because we will stay with sports, but it is very interesting that Donald Trump was able to get some free airtime because he is the owner of that golf course. Well, the other breaking news, of course, when we're talking our football segment, the NFL Combine is now complete. There was an unbelievable record that was shattered, actually not at the National Combine, but one of the local combines, and we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about the question. And we're actually going to play that for you, the question the Falcons asked, very controversial. And we'll talk about that in case you guys have not heard about it. And, of course, we're also going to take a look at some of our projections on who you guys might think are going to win the NCAA tournament. You guys can kind of give me your sensibilities on it. We'll talk about it. And the Warriors, nobody could beat them except The Los Angeles Lakers? so we'll talk about all that stuff. And, of course, we're going to talk about our Atlanta Hawks, our Atlanta Falcons, NFL Draft and Combine right here, of course, and keeping it as we do real on the Real Talk Sports Show. You can give us a call with your comments and opinions, 404-361-1571. You also can send us an email if you'd like to jsimmons@realtalksports.net. Like I said, we are broadcasting to you on Periscope, so if you want to tune in and comment on that, please, ma'am, please, sir, do so. We'd love to have you. All right, gents, again, we already talked about Adam Scott. Let's take a look here at the NCAA tournament. Who are some of the favorites that you guys think might be able to make some noise in the tournament or possibly even win the whole thing?
One team that I've been looking at recently is Michigan State. They've actually been playing pretty good basketball all the year round, under their coach, under the leadership of Tom Izzo, right?
Tom Izzo.
Tom Izzo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, he's a guy who's always made it to the Final Four, at least to the Elite Eight, and he's been doing it he's been doing it consecutively. So I really have them as favorites due to the fact that he has experience within the tournament and the way that he knows how to coach his teams to get them to that level. I definitely have my eyes on Michigan State. They're going to be one team that's going to be tough to beat this year.
Another team I think is going to be a real tough team heading into the March Madness is West Virginia. They have a strong talent team right now. Those guys can really ball. And I think they've been holding back the whole season, win most of their games, lose a few, but they're really going to show out during March Madness.
Well, I think, again, it's going to Michigan State, obviously, is one of the favorites. I had looked at Maryland to possibly make some noise, but I guess I've forgotten all about the team that had been ranked ahead of them and been undefeated this year in the Big Ten. Very, very quietly, the Indiana Hoosiers are, shaking the rafters and making people think about the days when they had the legendary coach Bobby Knight. So look for the Hoosiers to make some noise. But, of course, the top teams are really coming out of the Big 12. Kansas and Oklahoma have to be two of the big favorites going into the tournament to take the whole thing.
Oh, yes, definitely Kansas. They've been playing exceptional as well with a 27-4 record. They've always coming out on the top of their conference almost year in, year out. And like you said, I think it's going to definitely be interesting for Kansas.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing that's very interesting is that last night there was a controversy in their conference because two of the teams that were in the top three actually were ineligible to play in postseason. But Florida Gulf Coast, if you remember them, they were the dunking Cinderellas from a few years ago. They are back. They have made their way in winning their tournament, and they are now going to return to the NCAA tournament. And everybody, of course, remembers their spectacular run from 2 years ago when they were dunking on anybody and everybody.
Yes, they were.
En route to a tremendous run in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yes, that was one thing that I remembered. And actually, they've always had a lot of great athletes within that program. It's just that they were always flew under the radar.
That's right.
And when they made it to that tournament, they definitely exploded on the scene with all of the athleticism, throwing alley-oops anytime that they could. Fast-breaking team. They're run-and gun team, actually. And actually, when they play in the half-court set, they can shoot the ball quite well a little bit. But run and gun is their style. And I look forward to it in this tournament as well. See what they can do.
Oh, no question, man. And of course, one of the teams I'm going to have to give a shout out to is a team that has not been to the tournament in many, many, many years. Actually, a team that was located right up the road from where I grew up. The Yale Bulldogs are making their first appearance in the NCAA tournament in over 2 decades. So shout out to the Bulldogs, 13-1 in the Ivy League Conference. And before everybody starts to snicker, remember the Ivy League has produced some outstanding teams over the years. Of course, when I was much younger, Pete Carrill was always a threat in the tournament to upset you with his Princeton move the ball around offense. In the last couple of years, certainly we've had Harvard make some impact as well. So kudos to the Yale University Bulldogs out of Little New Haven, Connecticut. Well known for making preachers and politicians, but not so much on basketball. So shout out to them. And I know a guy here locally might be a little happy about that. Is junior owner, I shouldn't say junior owner, minority owner for the Atlanta Hawks, Grant Hill. A lot of people say, why would Grant Hill be happy? Because his father, legendary running back out of Yale and later played for the Dallas Cowboys, Calvin Hill, graduated from Yale University. So look for Grant Hill to be pretty excited. Matter of fact, the next time we see him at the Hawks game, we might kind of, say, hey, how you feeling about them Yaleys? So, again, if you want to comment about who you think is going to be the threat or the big team to win the NCAA tournament, certainly give us a call, 404-361-1571, as we look here and take a look at these great teams. And, again, giving shout-outs also in my neck of the woods from down in Long Island, Stony Brook. Looks like they're going to make the tournament, probably about a 13th seed. So kudos to them. And a lot of small schools and mid-majors from my neck of the woods up in the Northeast are going to be in the tournament. So if you guys have me doing a little hollering and shouting, you're going to know that's because I'm giving the big kudos for my locale. Now, we'll shift to girls basketball for just a second. I know you guys don't follow that too much, but again, I guess because it's from my home state. The University of Connecticut the women have now won their 57th straight women's college basketball game. Do you guys think there's anybody out there who can beat UConn?
There's always a possibility that a team can get beat. But in this case with UConn, there's no way. They're too hot. They're 31-0. The next closest team is Notre Dame. I mean, they're playing good basketball, but they're not playing on the level that UConn is at right now. They're just dominating everybody. They just beat Tulane by over 50 points. It was 83-53. So it's just they're playing incredible basketball.
They beat East Carolina 92-51 the other night as well. So I mean, these guys are just on a roll.
And to think about it, it even goes back to when Maya Moore was there, how they ran through everybody. And the same teams are always in the top four. It's Connecticut, then you have Notre Dame, then you might have Stanford. And they continuously beat those teams. Those are the only two teams that give them problems, but it's not too big of a problem because they always get beaten by at least 15. But I should just say they're the ones that are the toughest opponents for them. But for them to be playing so well, it's something. It's really hard to see them losing. That's really what it is. It's hard to see them losing.
Well, we want to give a Periscope shout-out to I Am Pastor Oz. Thank you for joining us here in Periscope. And, of course, I know the Spiritual Soldier had peeked in a little bit there, so we want to actually give her a shout-out as well. Speaking of shout-outs, since we're on women's basketball, I want to give two shout-outs here, both to some local young ladies and someone I actually know. First of all, don't count out the University of Tennessee. They have two outstanding basketball stars from right here in Atlanta, former Miss Basketball for Georgia, former National High School Women's Player of the Year. Her mom here is excuse me, I'm clutching a bailing here a little bit. Diamond DeShields. Diamond DeShields played at Norcross, led Norcross to, I believe, 3 state championships. She plays on Tennessee. And, of course, if you think the pot was not already full with her being over there, she also got a good friend who was Georgia State Miss Basketball, Atlanta Miss Basketball, Tia Cooper. A dazzling young lady from out of the Atlanta area. She's also with her as well. So look for the University of Tennessee, if not this year, maybe next year, to make some noise with Diamond being a sophomore and Tia being a freshman. The other shout I got to give is to a guy that I roomed with at college. He was from my hometown, Eugene Mosley. If you're listening there, buddy, want to give a big shout out to your daughter, Brene, who was the Big Ten 6th Woman of the Year, also Comeback Player of the Year. His daughter, Brene, was an outstanding recruit in high school, one of the top high school players in the nation. While she's been at Maryland University, she has suffered not one but 2 severe ACL and I think also MCL injuries, and she's come back each time, and now in her senior year is once again going to allow Maryland make a run to the tournament. And for those of you who are not familiar, Maryland got all the way to the Final Four last year. So again, look for the Terrapins. Now, they have a funny nickname. I think they're called like the Raging Turtles or something like that. Terrapins. That's what a terrapin is, a turtle. But we want to give them a shout-out anyway, and thank God for her being able to recover from the injuries because, Ashton, as you know, getting a knee injury is pretty serious.
Oh, yes, most definitely, because it'll limit your explosion, your ability to cut and make all your usual movements that you will make within the game. So major shout-out to Mrs. Mosley for definitely, putting in the work needed and continue to drive and have the motivation to continue to put Maryland on her back to get to the tournament.
All right, we're staying with basketball. Let's shift a little bit to the NBA before we go to the break in a couple of minutes. Gentlemen, the Warriors up to this point looked like they were just nobody could handle them. They were blowing everybody out by big double-digit scores. But suddenly, a chink in the armor. Even though they didn't win, our hometown Atlanta Hawks pushed them to the limit, both
Right.
here in Atlanta and also in Golden State. And then the unthinkable happened. On the last time that Kobe would play Golden State, the Warriors, not only did they lose to the Lakers, but got thumped. I mean, are we seeing possibly a little weakness, maybe running out of gas for the Warriors?
I don't think they're running out of gas. I just think that teams are finally looking at their team, the Warriors team, and saying, oh, we can actually beat them. They actually get their confidence back. And don't go out there thinking we're just going to get blown out. The major key in all of the Warriors' losses this year, they've lost at the three-point line. If you stop Steph Curry and Klay Thompson from being able to drive, pop and shoot the three, the Warriors can't win. I mean, that's their main point in their whole offensive scheme. Is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, when they lost to the Lakers, they were 1 for 18 of 3 point shots. So hey, maybe that's the biggest factor. The Hawks can take advantage of it. They were trying to take advantage of it, but Steph Curry was just hot that night.
Most definitely. And when you look back into the finals, the reason why that they had lost the games that they did was because they had horrible shooting nights. So whenever the Warriors are shooting terribly, Steph Curry's shooting horribly, and, and everybody else is not clicking like Draymond and all of them, when they're not clicking, the Warriors can't be beaten. And actually, Oklahoma City, I actually saw them give them a run for their money as well, besides the Atlanta Hawks. So it goes to show they have weaknesses, but can you capitalize on them is the question that all the teams have to answer.
And of course, they still remain one of the deepest teams in the league, and they really are. They create so many matchup problems across the board with Draymond Green and guys like that. It really makes it very, very difficult for you to beat them. But again, it does appear there may be some chinks in the armor. And the other thing too is, hey, no one can predict injuries, and Steph Curry is a little banged up.
Yeah, I mean, teams have been playing Steph real rough lately. They're not just letting him drive to the paint. And it's almost close to playoff time for the NBA. If Steph Curry is not fully healthy, he needs to start looking at what the Spurs are doing. They sit out games,
right.
5-6 games before the playoffs. Him, Klay Thompson, their whole starting five, because they already clinched their spot. Right. I know they want the record, but maybe you have to sacrifice his record for a good run at the NBA championship.
Well, I tell you, that's going to be the key. Can they stay healthy? Are they going to be able to, fight off the injury bug? Because that hits every team. Well, listen, we're going to be talking more sports here, talking about the Atlanta Hawks, and, of course, talking about the Falcons. Is this team beginning to implode? Well, keep it locked right here and find out more.
It's official. The hottest new restaurant and sports grill on the South Side is open for business. Check out the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, Stockbridge, Georgia, inside the Holiday Inn and Suites. All new. It's got great appetizers, delicious desserts, and mouth-watering signature burgers made for your order. Grab some takeout on the way home or enjoy the beautiful lounge and dining area lined with flat-screen TVs. It's the Burger Theory Restaurant, 638 Highway 138, inside the Holiday Inn, Stockbridge, Georgia.
I have been called one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Some woman who wants to be immoral. She wants to fit in with whore America. She wants to spread her legs outside the confines of marriage. And she wants my tax-paying dollars to do it. I'm known to be very laid back and reserved. And another thing, you pastors, I got to get on you real quick. Don't try to stand and march against homosexuality and say they can't get rights. Meanwhile, Liberace's playing your organ and Elton John's directing your choir. One thing for sure, I really get along with everybody.
About the mismarriage is media.
No, what's media? It's not in the media. Are you kidding me?
You don't know.
Yes, I do know. No. Yes, I do know. Now, you want to tick me off? You say something like that. To get to know me a little better and learn more about my wonderful attributes, join me live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. on WIGO AM 1570, online at WIGOAM.com or the TuneIn app. Download that for free. I'm Milani Kai. Dare to speak your mind.
We are back. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we are broadcasting to you right here on WIGOAM.com. We're also on Atlanta's Incredible Radio, WIGO 1570. You also can find us anywhere on any mobile device. Use the free TuneIn Radio application, put in WIGO 1570, or better yet, put in Real Talk Sports, and voila, you will find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. You also can find us on Periscope if you have the Periscope app, and we are actually broadcasting to you via video on Periscope. Well, we're talking about the Warriors and their vulnerability. We think that they possibly might be able to get beaten if the right things come along. Well, the next question is, speaking of the NBA, how about our Hawks? How do they look? And you guys tell me, how about this two-headed monster, Jeff Teague and Dennis Schroeder? Can they continue to improve on this this dynamic duo?
I definitely think they can. All they have to do is push the ball. We saw what they did against Golden State. They had a great up-tempo offense trying to compete with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Those guys are fast. They're going to move up and down the court. You're always going to have problems at protecting the paint. He dropped 20 points when they beat the Clippers. They have a great team. Now, are they consistent? That's probably the biggest thing going into the rest of the games. They have to be more consistent in all their games and playing up-tempo offense.
Most definitely. I agree with you on that. They can definitely build upon that, and that's actually what they need to do to continue to get the motor, to keep the steam rolling. Because when you think about it, Dennis Schroeder, he's a pass-first guard. Jeff Teague, he can score. He can play off the ball. Dennis Schroeder does. Dennis Schroeder, he's also improving his game as well. And then they also added depth with Kirk Hinrich behind them that can actually use his veteran leadership to help Dennis Schroeder get better, make better decisions, and also help Jeff Teague. So they can definitely build upon that using their youth and outrunning everybody out the gym. They can definitely do that. They have something going on right there.
Well, see, you hit it on the head. That's one of the things I've talked about repeatedly is why the Hawks don't push and press and move the ball, because really you talk about two of the fastest guards in the league. They showed that certainly against the Clippers, as the Clippers had problems all night defending Teague and Schroeder as they made these mad dashes to the basket. And even the Warriors had some problems from time to time shutting these guys down. So to me, why wouldn't you press and run more? Why wouldn't you keep the tempo as high-powered and as upbeat as you can?
Right. And the one thing that has to play into effect as well is their conditioning as well, because as the playoffs come around, consistency is one thing that will get you to the next level. So if they can stay well conditioned, they can stay healthy and continue to play at that high-octane offense on a consistent basis, because they're built to do it. I mean, Al Horford is one of the big men in the league that can actually run with you on the fast breaks. And you have Paul Millsap, you have Tim Hardaway, so many things. They have so many factors that can come into play if they all click consistently. So if they can do this consistently, they can definitely make a run within the East.
I definitely think the Hawks can take a page out of Cleveland's book right now. Cleveland moved LeBron to power forward. They switch up the lineup. Why not go ahead and put Schroeder in the starting five? Teague at point, Schroeder at shooting guard. Those guys can really run the ball. You got Paul Millsap and Al Horford protecting the paint. Right. Those guys are going to get the rebounds, the blocks. They're going to get the post-up shots.
Right.
I don't know Quinn Bazemore has his nights. Sometimes he's not shooting his best, but he's doing at least 15 points a game, which is great for a small forward. Take Kyle Korver off. He's not at his best right now. He's playing these big minutes, 28, 30 minutes, and he's not performing as well as he should. You have Kirk Hinrich, coach didn't play in the last game. I definitely think he can be a big impact in helping Kyle Korver take some of his minutes off. But hey, I think that's what the Hawks should start doing.
There's no question. If you look at the combined stats for Jeff Teague and Schroeder, you got basically out of your point guard position, you're getting about 26, 27 points a game as far as scoring, and you're getting probably another 11 to 12 assists a game. Well, I'd stacked up against any starting point guard in the NBA, no question about it. And now, like you mentioned, they have the depth, especially with Tim Hardaway Jr. I think that going forward, he's going to be a big key to be able to lessen the minutes that you're going to get out of Kyle Korver, and also to be able to try to better defend the speedier guys, like, when you go out to the Splash Brothers and you look and take the way they're set up, and a lot of these teams that have the quicker guards that they'll have to play. Now you're in a situation where you have someone that defend them, and I just think that's going to make a difference. The other thing, guys, what do you think about the immediate impact that a trade that a lot of people kind of made fun of because he's Kim Kardashian's ex, but how about Chris Humphries and the immediate impact he's made on the Hawks?
Well, he's known to be a rebounder. He's one guy who's a big body down there. He can also fill up the lanes, and he's a strong guy. The guy's not small as well. He's like, 6'10"? He has some height on him. He has size on him. That's a great addition to protecting the paint. And he can also score a little bit, add a little bit. Whatever he can add point-wise is beneficial. He's not a high scorer, but he's a great rebounder. So that was a great pickup for him as well.
There's no question. When you look at this, people forget that just about 3 or 4 years ago with the Boston Celtics, he had back-to-back years where he averaged a double-double for the season. So this is it. And listening to the Hawks in some of the press conference remarks after the game, that all of the guys talked about how surprised they were at how well he shot and how far his range was. All these guys are expecting, like you said, this big, strong guy, but he's a decent shooter from 12 feet out and can occasionally pop the 3 for you like an Al Horford. So I think that Chris Humphries is again, it's not a flashy guy. He's not a, quote-unquote an all-star, but there's no question that he's the type of big that the Hawks, I think, have been looking for a while. So Chris Humphries making an impact with the Hawks right away. Well, listen, folks, if you think the Hawks can go the distance, can they get in the Eastern Division Conference Finals again, please give us a call, 404-361-1571. Or if you have an idea of who else they should bring to this team maybe next year that can help them. Now, one of the things I would tell you right now, I don't know what kind of bank they have to go to. I don't know if they kind of got to borrow Fort Knox. But at the end of the day, man, I would go all in. I don't care if he says he wants to go to Golden State. I don't care what he says. I would go all in for that man over in OKC, Kevin Durant.
The thing with Kevin Durant is
Is what?
OKC, they're going to put all their money forward to try to keep him there. Him and Westbrook. If he does decide to test out free agency, there is a chance he can come down to Atlanta. Will Atlanta make the offense around him? I think they have a strong chance, but at the same time, he has mentioned in the past, what about Washington? He got John Wall over there. Those two guys going back and forth. Washington will build a very good team around Kevin Durant.
Oh, there's no question. You got Beal and you got Wall. You got two of the best backcourt men in the NBA. So I mean, there's no question. And you got Martin Gortat. So you got some pieces over there that could do some damage. But I'm saying to you, gentlemen, this is what I always hear here in Atlanta. It's always, well, they want too much money. Remember we heard this last year against DeMar Carroll, and then find out DeMar says, well, never made me an offer. We see a situation with Roddy. Roddy saying, well, we'll talk about that later on. But again, it gets back to why won't Atlanta be all in? It almost kind of reminds you of the guy that doesn't want to ask the good-looking girl, like the superstar in the school out because he's afraid he's going to hear no. Hey, get over yourself, man. What's the worst thing that happen? They say no, but at least you gave it everything you got.
I think the Hawks' problem is they're afraid to get that superstar again. They had a superstar when they had Joe Johnson and Josh Smith. That really brought attention to the Hawks.
All right, hold up, young gun. Who the two guys you mentioned, superstars again? Give me those names.
Not taking superstars, but they brought attention to the Hawks. They were highlight tapes for the Hawks. Joe Johnson, Josh, in that time period.
Okay, all right.
That's when the Hawks was really, they weren't the best team, but they had a good offense. I mean, they had a lot of not star players, but good talent. Yeah, they had the
Josh
excitement.
Josh get a few dunks on you every now and then.
Right.
Got you.
I just think they don't want to spend too much money on one player and then lose some more players off their team, and then they have these open positions. But, yeah, at the end, you got Kevin Durant. That's it.
And at the end of the day, now I'm just being devil's advocate here. If you played on the Hawks and all of a sudden it was announced that Kevin Durant is now your teammate, where are you going? Nowhere.
Right. I mean, when
championship time now. You look at this. This is what we've been waiting for.
I mean, when you look at it, I think if Kevin Durant even decided to come in here, he would actually be a great fit due to the fact that the Atlanta Hawks are nothing but a team full of role players right now.
Right, exactly.
So he would come in there and step in and be the lone star that Atlanta really needs because he's actually one that can get the ball, take over the game, something that Atlanta is really missing. That's another thing that Atlanta got to work on, finding that one player who they can put it all on their back and say, okay, I can take you to the promised land. I can get you to win. Instead of trying to play team ball all the time, because think about it, if you have, I know they're trying to play like the Spurs, have a Spurs type of offense where the ball the ball is moving and everybody has touches, the points to spread it out. But at the same time, the Spurs know that they can put the ball in Manu Ginobili's hands and he can get the fourth quarter wins for you, or he can put it in Tony Parker's hand and he can get the win for you. Who is that person for the Hawks? That's what if they get Kevin Durant. That answer is solidified, and it'll be a great addition to have Dennis Schroeder and Jeff Teague running and gunning with Kevin Durant, and then you have Al Horford and Paul Millsap continuing the production that they do. You have Kyle Korver hitting his threes, Bazemore, Mike Scott. That would be great.
Well, Reggie looks like we're just doing a pipe dream. But you think about this for a second. You think about this team. You talked about they don't have a go-to guy. That's one of the problems I have with the Hawks is that when they get a player that's hot, late in the game, they sometimes, to try to quote-unquote get that best shot, they move away from this player. Because, for example, I've been to a couple of games, seen some games where Al Horford could have scored 30 or 35, especially that game against Golden State. He really was the man.
Right.
They instead worked the ball to Paul Millsap. And as much as I like Paul Millsap, a nice guy, sharp dresser, I've seen a couple of different events, he, for some reason, it seems like, I don't want to use the word choke, but it seems like he's not had the ability to close games out, because I've watched at least 3 or 4 games in the last 2 weeks where he had a shot to either tie a game for the Hawks or give them the win and clank. Okay? So to me, that's the Hawks' problem. I understand that Millsap is your number one scorer. I get it. I understand that he's kind of quote-unquote your lone all-star, but he hasn't shown me the ability to make that money shot. That shot that you say, hey, this is the one guy we're going to give the ball to, and we know, hey, we got to get 2 points here. Right. He just has not come through. He's had some great games. The other night, he had a double-double. Al Horford had another double-double. But to me, that's the guy I'm giving the ball to is Al Horford. Because remember, in the playoffs last year, who was the guy that hit that clutch shot? It was Al Horford. That's the guy I'm giving it to, because I'm thinking of all the guys on this team, the guy that seems to be the most fearless and the most calm in those clutch situations is Big Al. Well, listen, who do you think, folks? You can give us a call, 404-361-1571. The phone lines are now open. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. Jonathan Simmons. I got the young guns in the booth, Mr. Reggie Brown and Mr. Ashton Reynolds. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back for more Real Talk Sports because we want to know, are the Falcons imploding? Stay tuned for more.
Let's get ready to rumble with 100 yards of football, the hottest sports talk radio show, live from the ATL every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with Vincent Turner and his impeccable sports talk crew. That's right. Join your host, Vincent Turner, and his impeccable sports talk crew every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for hot sports topics and more right here on Atlanta's incredible radio, WIGO 1570 AM.
It's Macy's 3-day sale with night specials starting at 5 p.m. now through Thursday. Like wool blend and down coats for her, only $69.99. Men's sweaters from J.A. John Ashford and Jeffrey Bean, $15.99. Take 30% plus an extra 10% off mixers, blenders, food processors, and coffee. Boots from Style & Co., Rampage, and more, only $17.99. And Charter Club Super Soft Robes, $24.99. Macy's 3-day sale. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Taylor, New York Giants, and you with Real Talk Sports.
And we are back. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. Jonathan Simmons, and we're broadcasting, of course, here from the studios of Atlanta's incredible radio, WIGO 1570. And I will tell you guys that WIGO is now the Stellar Award nominated. We have the plaque now in the building. We were finalists for the Stellar Award for Station of the Year Major Market. So we thank God for that, and we thank God for the support of each and every one of you that has been helping us get that way. We also want to give a shout out to all of the portals that we are broadcasting on. Of course, I mentioned we're online at WIGOAM.com. We're also online at one of our partners, 1100entertainmentradio.com. For those of you who are in the area here in Atlanta, you want to tune into them, great website, and you can find us broadcasting to you right there as well. And of course, on any mobile device, you can hit us up on the TuneIn radio application, put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, or better yet, put in Real Talk Sports, and bingo bango, you will find us broadcasting to you here live. Also, you can follow us anywhere on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we're also on Periscope, even Pinterest. You can find us simply at Talk Sports ATL. Well, gentlemen, talk a little bit about the Combine. Lots of stuff going on there. And, of course, you guys, I'm sure, want to tell you about this young man that ran with breakneck speed, broke the record, and also tell people some of the guys that you thought did a great job at the Combine.
Well, to start it off, I would like to say that the one group of guys that have definitely made some noise within the NFL Combine comes out of Ohio State. I mean, Darren Lee, he had the fastest 40 time for his position at linebacker. And then you have the safeties. They're coming out there already ranked in the top amongst their position. So Ohio State, they're definitely coming in there making noise. And Ezekiel Elliott, he had one of the highest verticals. So major props to Ohio State's prospects in this NFL Combine.
Not just Ohio State, but you had the sleeper coming out of Georgia, Keith Marshall, running back. He was kind of falling behind Todd Gurley, took over that position, ran a 4.31, crazy fast speed. The guy's very athletic. I mean, he can run that spot like a Darren Sproles. He can catch the ball, he can run, he can do everything on the field. And as you just telling about the guy who ran a 4.19, not just at the NFL Combine, but it was a local Combine. Oh,
yes, most definitely. He's a wide receiver. I'm actually trying to find his name now. But it happened a day or two ago. He had set the new record for 4.19, which he had broken all the records that was held by Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, with the 4.24s and all of that. This guy here, he broke the record, and I will have his name in a few minutes. But he's a pretty nice size, though. He's like 6'1". He's pretty nice size guy. He definitely, with that speed, hopefully if he has the hands and that speed translates into the game. But if it does, he would definitely be a key addition to whoever picks him up.
Yeah, he's the guy. He played wide receiver and kick return at NAIA school, not a very popular school, coming out of University of Cumberland. His name is Williamsburg. He ran a hand clock 4.19, folks. Faster than Chris Johnson.
Right.
Faster than Bo Jackson. Some of the fastest guys that's ever played in the NFL.
Right.
You don't just get this speed anywhere just out the blue.
Right.
I mean, whoever team picks this guy up, if they do pick him up late in the draft, he's going to be a heck of a player.
Right.
You don't need to run him at wide receiver or halfback. Just put him on kick return. You see Devin Hester did it.
Right.
He's just able to play any type of position. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Falcons will pick up a fast guy like that. If he can really run a 4.19 on the offense, Matt Ryan will have a field day with him.
Most definitely. And I especially think that if they were going to use him or put him in some type of offense, use him as a Percy Harvin type, Deshaun Jackson type, Reggie Bush, use him all over the field to utilize that speed and create mismatches. Because if you set him up at running back, he will have a linebacker guarding him or a safety guarding him. And a guy with that speed, you can easily get past him. Or if you set him up at wide receiver, you really don't have that many cornerbacks that can cover a guy that can run 4.1. I mean, you have a few with your Patrick Petersons, but you've seen what Julio Jones can do to him, and he ran a 4.3. And so, right, like I said, that guy there with all of that speed, he would definitely be a handful in the NFL.
There's no question, man. I mean, when you talk about somebody running a 4.2 type 40, that's the type of speed that Michael Vick had when he first got here to Atlanta.
Right.
And, of course, you talk about Bo Jackson, one of the greatest running backs of all time. So there's no doubt that if this young man can make the transition, because, again, we're talking a very small school, NAIA. We know the competition is a little bit different, but I was reading that he was averaging somewhere around 200 yards a game in total offense. He had 4 kick returns. I think he had another 5 touchdowns in terms of receiving and a couple more on the ground. So this guy is an explosive candidate, and certainly somebody you want to maybe look out in the later rounds to add on some speed onto your team.
Right.
Speaking of doing some drafting, who do you guys think that the Falcons might take a look at in this draft? A lot of names have been rumbling around in the defensive side of the ball.
One guy who I've been looking at and I've had my eyes on him for a good minute is the safety Miles Killebrew, straight out of southwestern Utah. And notice he's another small school, and that's where a lot of NFL scouts are really looking now. The small schools, they're getting a lot more looks due to the fact that the guys from the smaller schools are coming in and actually making big productions. And you can go all the way back to the Walter Paytons, you can go to Jerry Rice, you can go to Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson. Some of the biggest names came out of the smaller schools. Miles Killebrew, he's a safety, and he's 6'3", 220 pounds, and can do everything. He's a hard hitter that can cover. And he has great speed to cover anybody that gets past the cornerback. He has great play recognition. And that's something that the Atlanta Falcons need on their defense. Somebody who can come in with that type of IQ and that type of skill set, and they can actually set the tone, which is what Willie Moe did before they released him this offseason. But that was something that he did. Hopefully they can work something out to get him back and have them two back in the secondary so they can set the tone. That's what they need, a tone setter, and I think Miles Killebrew is one guy that can do that.
There's one guy that had a decent combine, but who's also making the trip down this weekend to Atlanta. Reggie Ragland, coming out of Alabama. I spoke about him last week. I'm going to say his name again this week. He's an inside linebacker. He's fast. The guy's a hard hitter. We know he comes from a great defense. He can really fit well with this Falcons defense. They like to pressure the run. If you stop the run, they got the safeties back there. They have pretty decent safeties. They can stop the pass. Reggie Ragland can also go off and cover the tight end and slot. The guy's just a beast. I think day one he'll be an impact hitter.
Right. Well, that's definitely a good pick. And, of course, the other two guys that are getting a lot of publicity here locally, of course, and even nationally as picks for the Falcons are two guys that they're already familiar with this school, Clemson University, Kevin Dodd, and also looking at Shaq Lawson as well. Either one of those two guys I think would be a tremendous fit for the Falcons. Both of these guys bring what you want. They bring a lot of bad intent. They bring good speed, and they both are known to be able to be disruptive on the other side of the ball. And, of course, with having two Clemson guys here already, and Grady Jarrett, and, of course, Vic Beasley Jr., it would just be more of the Clemson-Orange connection here in Atlanta. And like you said, what you would have now, especially you talk about bringing a guy like Shaq Lawson, the operative thing is if he is healthy.
Right.
He comes in now at the defensive end spot. You put him on the other side of Vic Beasley Jr., and all of a sudden you have an improved Vic Beasley who we saw coming out a lot in the last 4 or 5 5 games of the season, and now you have a guy that you have to contend with also on the other side. Yeah, that could be a real tough situation for NFL offense to deal with.
Yeah, it sounds good, really, because what Shaq Lawson can bring on the defensive end, that he is a monster. He had a monstrous year this year, but the thing about it is if he's healthy, because the Atlanta Falcons is one team that if you're not healthy, they will let you go. And so I wanted to say Shaq Lawson is one of my projected picks for the Falcons, but due to the fact that he's coming off of an injury already, and pretty bad injury at that, the one that almost held him out of the championship, but he played through it. Are the Hawks willing? I mean, not the Hawks, the Falcons. Are the Falcons really willing to, work with him while he's not only, working to be on the team and hopefully he's there, but are they willing to, if he comes in and say he gets re-injured, are they willing to be patient with him and not let him go like how they've done the others like Sean Witherspoons and things like that?
Well, certainly a good question. Again, the Falcons have a lot in front of them. This is a can't-miss draft. What I mean by that, this is a draft that the Falcons cannot afford to blow. They've had 2 or 3 bad drafts in a row, and when you have a team that has not 1, not 2, but 4 general managers on your staff,
right.
There's no way that the Falcons should be able to miss on a pick here. I think they need to go defense. I think that what they need to look at also is potentially down the road getting some offensive line help. There's already some rumbling as far as free agency that they're bringing in Laurinaitis, who is the linebacker. For a while, was one of the outstanding linebackers in the league with the Rams, but now the Rams have released him, and he's getting a look-see by the Falcons as well. So, I mean, the Falcons have it all in front of them. It's a very, very deep draft. To me, they should be able to really fill in some of the holes they need. You talked about Miles Kennebrew. He is kind of a Cam Chancellor type, big body, brings you not only the big hitting, but also a guy that can control your defense. Of course, as you pointed out, Reggie Ragland, a guy that could give you what the Falcons haven't had since Curtis Lofton left here. But, I think, again, they're probably going to lean towards getting another edge rusher because you got 2 young gun quarterbacks that you got to face twice a year in Cam Newton and, of course, in
Jameis Winston.
And Jameis Winston. So look for the Falcons to kind of add there. Listen, who do you think, folks? We'll open up the phone lines again, 404-361-1571. Your comments on who the Falcons should pick in the NFL draft. Remember, they have the number 17 pick, so we'd love to hear your comments. Speaking of comments, also the big question about the Falcons asking a funny question at the NFL Combine. Something that you would not expect to be asked. But, let's see if we can get that clip. I have that here, Mr. Eli Apple. I want to see if our engineer has it. I want you guys to listen to the clip before you make the comment on this. This is Eli Apple talking about his being questioned by the Falcons at the Combine.
Funnier things that usually happens out of the Combine is a lot of the guys are asked, weird questions by reporters. Is there anything that's, what's the weirdest thing you've been asked or that you heard of, someone else being asked either at the Combine or before that?
I've been asked a lot of weird questions. I don't know if I could say them on TV. I think the Falcons coach, one of the coaches was like, so do you like men? And it was the first thing he asked me.
Really?
It was weird, and I was just like, no. He's like, well, if you're going to come to Atlanta, you just got to know that, sometimes that's how it is out here or whatever. You got to get used to it. And I guess he was joking, but I guess they just ask most of these questions to see how you're going to react.
How you react, right.
If you're paying attention, I guess. And that was the first thing off the bat. And I was like, kind of.
All the times they're probably not even serious. It's just we want to gauge your reaction.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
That was very interesting.
All righty then. Okay. Well, there's the question of the year. Coach asking a grown man, do you like men? Now, here's why I wanted to play that clip. Okay, everybody, and I talked about this on a Saturday show we do. Here's a great Saturday show, 100 Yards of Football. As you know, Mr. Football, who comes in and kind of shakes up the roof here from time to time. Really, for me, I said, okay, first of all, you want to look at the context. If you heard the young man, he took it as a joke. He said, hey, man, they asked you crazy questions. This one was kind of out of the realm of craziness, but I think he took it for what it was. It's kind of a crazy question, trying for shock value to see what you thought. The realities are, whether we like it or not, sadly, Atlanta has become a city that is notorious for misbehavior. It's a city that is, when people think about Atlanta that are not from here, the few things that come to their mind is strip clubs and young guns. I'm trying to keep it real. I don't want to get any trouble. I know moms out in the car saying, But strip clubs and homosexual activity.
Right.
The LGBT faction is huge here in Atlanta. Right. Let's just be real.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a inappropriate question to ask. It was a very inappropriate question to ask the guy. But at the same time, at the level, they seen what happened with people like Michael Sam. The whole impact he had on that team and players didn't want him. That's what the Falcons are really trying to dodge. They don't want any controversy. They don't want nothing popping out in the middle of their season, and then now their whole team goes down the hole. I think that's what the guy was trying to see, because you never know some players like out here these days.
Right.
Well, I mean, the thing that I kind of brought up the analogy, I know it seems kind of odd, but I mean, here's what I'm thinking. You have office and workplace romances. Am I right? It happens all the time. Okay. So now, what kind of team are you going to have set up if all of a sudden you find out, and I'm not trying to take a shot at Matt Ryan or say he's like this, but what would happen if all of a sudden you have team tension because the quarterback is having a domestic dispute with the tight end? Just saying. I'm just saying. Well, I guess we're going to leave it on that note. We're going to go to a quick break. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show, and we'll come back. Who shot the sheriff?
Call on the name of Jesus Christ. Son Edward in your ear on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's incredible radio. Son plays anointed gospel music and interviews the biggest gospel artists in the country. Son Edward in your ear discusses local and national news from a godly perspective. Son Edward in your ear. Tune in every Sunday at 9 a.m. on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's incredible radio. Son Edward in your ear.
Hello, this is Minister Jonathan Simmons. Everybody needs to be encouraged and inspired, and that's why I'm inviting you to join me on the Clarion Call broadcast every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. here on Atlanta's Incredible Radio, WIGO 1570. The show brings you inspiration from the Word of God and information from great guests to help you make it through the week. It's the Clarion Call Show, Wednesdays, 9:30 a.m. here on WIGO. You can also listen on your mobile device with the free TuneIn Radio application. Remember to check us out online at www.clarioncallshow.com.
Guess who's coming to WIGO AM 1570 on Tuesdays? It's Ask Dr. RJ. Is your child acting out in school? Ask Dr. RJ. Are you feeling too much stress on your job? Ask Dr. RJ. It's okay to talk to your friends or even your mom, but you still need that clinical piece. So ask Dr. RJ. Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on WIGO AM 1570.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Y'all looking good. God looks good. It's not your hair, it's not your clothes, no.
It's not your hair, it's not your clothes, but in fact, it's the Spirit of God that looks good on you. Kenton Jones, right here, based out of Atlanta, bringing you the Christian music with a definite hip-hop R&B flair. Shouts out to Kenton Jones, does some stuff right down here in the South Side, and we give kudos to him, man of God, keeping it real for the young cats. Well, speaking of young cats, this guy's not so young anymore in football years. Roddy White, the veteran, is gone, unceremoniously cut from the Falcons, and news reports where he got the information via text. Gentlemen, what do you think about a guy that really has been the heart and soul of the Falcons gone after 11 years?
I'm not shocked. I mean, the guy, he hasn't been playing at his full potential these last couple of years. And the way the NFL is going, they're just dropping these big talents that have been on their team. They don't really care anymore. Hey, if you're not putting up the numbers we want to see and you're just taking up money, we're going to drop you. So we've seen it happen with Jimmy Graham. That was even more shocking. Andre Johnson. But that's just the way the NFL is going right now.
Right, and I know a lot of people think that the NFL, when they draft you, it's all about loyalty or we're going to ride this guy. This is a business. If you're not putting up the numbers that you usually do it, if they're seeing some type of drop-off, you have a time limit to whether they can see the production that they think that you can put up. It's really on a time scale. Really, you had Roddy White. He's been great for the Atlanta Falcons. He's been a leading receiver within the NFL. He's had his injuries. He came in. He wasn't really good when he got drafted. He just gotten better. The man couldn't catch a cold if he tried. But lo and behold, he became one of the best receivers. And these years, Julio Jones, he's the young guy. He's the number one receiver right now. So they had to do away with the Roddy White. They were thinking of the long term. But one thing I do say, with the departure of Roddy White, he's still effective. He still has hands. And whatever team that he goes to, if they're playoff bound, he would definitely be a key player on that team.
Okay, here's why I have a little bit of a problem with the whole Roddy White issue. He is an old guy. That's correct as far as football years. The problem I have is that as soon as they release Roddy White, next thing you know, here's what they're talking about. Oh, yeah, the Falcons need help at receiver, second and third receiver. Okay,
Right.
Now, this is a team that last year said the following. We can't pay our third string receiver now, so we'll let him go to Tennessee. I don't know why I get these brain locks every now and then. Harry Douglas, a hometown favorite, a guy that does a lot of charity work here in Atlanta. They claim his asking price is too high. So they go the bargain basement method, and they bring a guy in here. They talking about can't catch a cold. This guy was a drop festival, Leonard Hankerson. And what got him cut, did you guys remember the play that got him cut? The infamous, they throw him a pass, it hits him in the hands, he drops it, he immediately falls to the ground, clutching his hamstring. Now, you guys know as young guns, come on now. You won't fake an injury? Immediately he was cut. So, to me, this is the problem. Always trying to do things on the cheap. We're not San Antonio in terms of basketball. We're not the New England Patriots in terms of football. We have not developed the depth of players that we can just say, okay, we're going to go in here and do a bargain basement. No disrespect to Coach Kyle Shanahan or Coach Quinn. Neither one of you guys are Bill Belichick and his staff. Let's keep it real.
Right.
All right. So now in the case of Roddy White, you're going to cut a guy who basically has been the heart of your team. Why? Roddy White and his agent said they're doing it because Kyle Shanahan wanted him gone. Okay, these are the quotes that you're hearing on both Yahoo Sports and on ESPN. This is what it says right here. It says, Kyle forced the Falcons to choose between him or Roddy. This is what his agent told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This was not Roddy's choice. Over the past 11 years, Roddy has played for 4 different head coaches, 4 different offense coordinators, 3 different wide receiver coaches, and 1 incredible owner. Their opinions of Roddy's and his opinions of them would all be consistently positive. Roddy has had and continues to have an incredible professional and personal relationship with them all. If you go on to ESPN.com, you listen to the clips on the Mike and the Mike show, they all call Roddy the consummate pro. Now, a lot of people threw him under the bus because if you remember about game number 4 or 5 when Roddy was interviewed off the cuff by one of us in the media, thank God it wasn't me, Roddy said, hey, I'm not paid to be no blocker, okay? They need to throw the ball at me, and it seems like after that point there was a lot of animosity between Kyle Shanahan and Roddy White. But at the end of the day, you got a guy that, remember, in 2014, I know Young Gun likes to throw him under the bus and say the guy can't do it anymore, but in 2014 he had almost 1,000 yards receiving.
Right.
So to keep it real. Listen, we got a caller on the line. Hassan, welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show.
Let's be clear for a minute. You guys is funny, okay? Now, you talk about who Atlanta Falcons should pick up in the draft. They should pick up a quarterback. I ain't heard the Young Guns.
Wow.
I ain't heard you mention a quarterback. What is wrong with you guys? And the second thing about this whole day guy, the possible prospect for the NFL. Oh, let's be clear. Now, if the NFL coach or Atlanta Falcons coach asked him a question about being gay, apparently he must act gay. He must got something about him that turned that wheel in Atlanta Falcons' head to make him even ask that question. You know, old saying, if it sound like a duck, if it walk like a duck, if it quack like a duck, it's a duck. That guy Dave probably gay. You know, he might be gay. Hey, that's why he asked. I don't think that's a normal question to ask a guy, except there's some signs there. Okay, some signs there that led them to ask the question. So come on, guys.
It's a good thing Hassan was not the coach, and we thank Hassan for giving us a call. I don't even know how to respond to that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump off this whole gay thing, because before we close out, I definitely want to do this. You know, Cam Newton called Peyton Manning the sheriff before he, concluded everything. Remember the Super Bowl, he talked about him being the sheriff. Well, I put together a little montage here because I think that there was some sneaky stuff going on behind the scenes to try to force Peyton Manning to retire. So we're going to play this little montage here. I think my engineer has it. Let's play a little bit of, Peyton Manning, I shot the sheriff.
Adam Schefter with a pretty interesting report this morning that the LA Rams are keeping tabs on Peyton when it comes to his potential for next season. Tell us more about this.
There's also the ongoing lawsuit that was filed last Tuesday against University of Tennessee, which I mentioned, Tabitha, from 6 anonymous women who claim that there has been a hostile culture.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the old preacher is thinking. I'm thinking that nobody was talking about this Peyton Manning scandal. This thing had been squashed for many, many, many years. Now, I know they're saying a new lawsuit has been launched, but the timing of the whole thing surprised me. See, I feel that all this didn't hit the fan until Peyton Manning started making some rumors out of his camp that maybe, just maybe, he didn't want to ride off into the sunset. Maybe, in fact, he wanted to play a little bit more football. And speaking in that regards, on national TV, a very famous basketball player by the name of Magic Johnson talked to him a little bit, and he offered Peyton to come out to L.A., and this is what it sounded like.
And now I heard that you got one of the first people to get season tickets to the L.A. Rams.
That's right.
They're back.
And I tried to talk somebody out of retirement and come to the Rams. I said, man, if you play again, come to the Rams.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
I was working on him backstage.
Yeah. I mean,
I will even chip in some money.
I shot the sheriff.
There have also been 2 recent settlements as well at the university. Now, stipulate that any major corporation like Tennessee, their lawyers are always busy. But when you have 3 settlements with Manning, one by the university, 2 recent suits settled, and the filing of this recent federal lawsuit, what does that all suggest?
They say they want to bring me in guilty for the killing of a dirty.
I had a chance to shake Johnny Unitas' hand. He told me, Peyton, you stay at it. I'm pulling for you. Well, I have stayed at it. I've stayed at it for 18 years. And I hope that old number 19 is up there with his flat top and maybe his black high tops on. And I hope he knows that I have stayed at it, and maybe he's even a little proud of me. There's just something about 18 years. 18 is a good number. And today I retire from pro football.
That's right, Sheriff. The NFL says you're not coming back, else we're going to scandalize your name. So number 18 decided to ride off in the sunset, just like the NFL originally scripted. Every now and then, you got to shoot the sheriff, but not the deputy. Well, listen, folks, it's the end of the broadcast here. We got to go. We'll let a young man just holler at you right quick. He has been very, very energized about coming to be here, part of WIGO, and check us out from behind the scenes. So we'll have this young man introduce himself to you right now.
Yes, sir. How you doing, ATL? My name is Miles Tyson, and I'm a sports fanatic, and I'm just trying to get my talk on with the fellas here, and hopefully to hear from y'all soon and talk with y'all soon.
There it is. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Young gun number 1.
Well, excited to have a great show tonight, and let's see what the Hawks can do.
Definitely was a great show. Got to say shout out to the sleeper pick in the March Madness, Iowa State. Y'all always give somebody problems, even though you get kicked out early, but you still give people problems. So.
And give us your website real quick.
You can follow me, Blessed Coast. We spread positivity, www.blessedcoast.com. You spell it BLESSEDKOAST.
All right, everybody, as I like to do before we get off the line, I like to make sure that you, if you don't already, get to know Jesus Christ, your personal Savior. Nobody loves you like Jesus, not your mom, not your auntie, not even grandmama and them. And that's why I know him. He knows me. I love him. I love you, and I'm grateful. God bless you. Good night.
No more. I've been blessed. I'm thankful. No stress. I'm able to dress. So fresh. Let's go. It's on tonight. My money right. Big city lights. Yes, I'm alright. I'm rolling slow. We fold deep and we sitting low. Do you wanna go? I'm gonna be going for sure.